This is week number 4 and in Christian Apologetics. Okay. Okay, so again, just a couple notes. When you sign, do not use check, and because you need to sign as a person. Anyone can do this. So you come in and sign for in, and then when you go out, right before the class is over, then you're gonna sign out. So 2 signs per day. And also you remember to sign in with the office. So you have to sign my class and office as well. Second thing, I noticed someone talking while I'm doing a lecture. Please keep quiet when I am lecturing. Only chance that you may talk in this class is when you raise your hand and ask a question. Okay? So please remember that. Not yet. No, sign later on. After 10 minutes. Okay. Those who come early, you can sign in early, but I'll give a 10 minutes grace period for each class. So I'll let you sign later on. Okay, this is where we end up last week, and regarding how do we do the need for apologetics. Why do we need to do this defense of Christian belief? Again, I told you that any other belief, whether you're Buddhist, Muslim, or any other religion, you still need to defend what you believe, because the belief is not imagination. It's not imagination. Meaning, the belief, when we say a belief, that's something that you believe in. So you cannot separate your belief with you. And if your belief is attacked or challenged, then you are challenged. You are challenged and you are attacked. That's why it is important for you to be able to defend your belief, your faith. So everyone is entitled to own faith and belief. And this is how we do in Christianity, how we defend our belief, our faith. And again, going on to the list of needs, why we defend Christian belief, says attacks and aggressions. That began only as 2,000 years ago when Jesus was walking on the earth near the Lake of Galilee and began his teaching. As soon as he begins his teaching, then there were challenges and attacks. So it's not something new, but it has gone for years and years. As long as the church had existed, then we had issues and problems of challenge and attacks from those who don't like Christianity, or who has a very strong and solid intention to destroy Christianity for their own reasons. Either they're satanic, or they are of some other religions who has been insulted. They feel like they're insulted, and then they're so-called anti-Christ. These are the very most strong opposition to Christianity usually the Satan is back behind this antichrist. And today we do have many different forms of antichrist existing, and they keep attacking Christianity, church, and Christians. So when that happens, you are obligated. Obligated meaning you must. It is your duty and your responsibility to defend. So it says attacks and aggressions against Christianity to counter, meaning to go against the bad image that Christianity has received from the world. So again, in today's world, 21st century, Christianity is in the most attack ever since probably the Roman Empire persecuted Christianity. So that probably historically the worst time the Christianity was challenged, and then it continues to challenge the Christianity. But in recent years, Christianity is being challenged by what we call secularism. Secularism is a pretty popular idea and the culture and the social phenomena that it is okay, or it is like they think they are intelligent to attack and challenge Christianity. So people think it's a smart thing and very intellectual thing to attack Christianity, and they call these like a resurrection, the virgin birth, the creation by God. The world is created, so the creation is being ridiculed. Ridiculed meaning they make a fun of Christianity in many different ways. So it is more for us Christians to defend our own faith and confirm what we and how we believe. So if there is no attack from others, then there is no reason to defend yourself. So it is quite a thing to have, these challenges, and then you should respond. Okay, those who have not signed in yet, please go ahead and begin signing your attendance. So after 10 minutes into the class, then you are considered late, and then you are not going to be allowed or able to sign in. So you're missing the first part of attendance, at least in my class. Second point there, to avoid deviation and then distortion. What it means is there are people, even within the church, within Christianity, who tries to twist the word deviate, distort, meaning to twist. So it is in every other religion as well, whether it's Islam, Buddhism, and other religions. There are people who think their own way, to own belief, and they think what they think is a more and better. So that's called deviation, twisting of the truth or change. So in Christianity, we use the word cult. Yeah, it will go around. Cult or heresy, meaning these are the not genuine, true Christianity, but twisted Christianity. So it is in every other religion as well, not only Christianity. When that happens, you gotta say, this is the right thing. You're believing something fake. Your doctrine, your theology is wrong. So to do that, this what we call apologetics. That's the title of this class, which is very basic, fundamental, and necessary. Continuing for the reasons and the need for apologetics, it says apologetics helps us dealing with the constant threat of apostasy in the visible Christian church. So that's the same thing. This cult and heresy. Next point. To identify false teachers. Clarify false teachings that try to influence the minds of believers and non-believers. What happens even if you are not a part of the cult or heresies within the church, within the good, healthy church? There are individuals, just single or some people who are trying to kind of show himself or herself and claim certain doctrine or certain experience that he or she may have to be general or generalized, meaning I am the right, I'm the best, I'm the most faithful, and you guys need to follow me. When that happens, that applies. And the good apologetics will just help this person who's claiming in the church to be better than others or got the revelation, direct revelation from God, and so on. And then you kind of need to help them to understand what the proper biblical Christianity is. So again, the apologetic is trying to have us proper and biblical Christianity or belief. Let's see. These are the words that will apply for, when we are doing apologetics. So that's if you want to believe right, and you want to believe according to the Bible, and you want to believe genuine, the true, original. Because there are, in this world, there are so many fakes. You no longer be able to trust pictures or videos anymore, because you can make a real like fake pictures or videos, and so it is no longer valid, and it's going to be your own judgment always. At the end, it's going to be your own decision and your own judgment to tell whether this is true or fake, or true or false. So we live in more complex and more confused society and culture today than way before. And in the old days, you believe what you see. What you see, unless what you see, witness with your own eyes, you don't believe. But that is no longer truth, because there are so many fake things that you see, and they are false. So that applies to apologetics today as well. Okay. That will conclude the lesson 2 of the part 1, the need for the apologetics. And let's continue with the next part of this lesson class. Okay. When you go to school like ours, Christian schools or seminaries, because this class is actually for the master level, which Master of Divinity should take, and Master of Divinity is a seminary class. Okay? So either seminary, Christian schools, when you come there, there's what we call systematic theology. It's a very fundamental and basic for anyone who is trying to become a minister, whether it's an associate minister, pastor, or whether you're trying to become a pastor in a church, or you try to be a chaplain like myself, or even if you're trying to teach a class like this one in a Christian school, you need to go through this, what we call seminary training. And the very fundamental for any seminary students or school in a Christian schools, Christian college, they require to take a systematic theology. And you are going to be required to take this systematic theology. In the line of this systematic study of Christian faith and belief, here comes what I call systematic apologetics. What systematic apologetic is, trying to lay down a very systemized or organized way of presenting the gospel, presenting the Christian truth in a way so you can understand and explain apologetics in very organized way. Okay? So let me have that attendance paper. Questions idea? Turn away to the front. What is it? Pen.
No, it's my head.
Okay, it's getting warmer here. Okay. So this is what we are trying to do in this class for today. It is an organized and systematic and academically objective approach to validate biblical belief and doctrine to the outsiders. So when you are trying to explain what the Christianity is or what the gospel is, what you want to do is you don't want to confuse others or even yourself. And unfortunately, many who are trying to do that, what we call evangelism or the dialogue or debate, whatever the situation might be, you don't want to confuse yourself first. And then if you are confused yourself, then you're going to certainly confuse others. So we want to avoid that very trap of that dialogue, debate, or conversation, evangelism, whatever that you are engaged in with others. He or she can be a believer or young Christian or non-believer who's trying to learn what the Christianity is, or those who are trying to challenge and attack Christian belief. So when that happens, you are in need for doing systematic apologetics. So we are missing a pen. Okay. And look at this, what is underlined. The key word here is validate. And then you can validate your own faith with using your own language, your terms, and from your point of view and your position. A good apologetics would come out of your own position or your own comfort zone and try to, at your best, to be in his or her seat that you are talking to or trying to have that conversation or communication. It may be a different form of communication, can be again debate, dialogue, or something else. But in any form of communication, you want to make it objective. That's again the key word, the objective. From third person's point of view, that's what the good apologetics and good theology is. You don't want to put your own idea and agenda into someone else. That's not how we do good apologetics. You're trying to make it from third person's view and then make it clear and understandable. Okay, the lesson 1 in the part 2, understanding logics and beliefs. Okay, I'm going to give you some of the key words in doing any apologetics or any science for the matter. So this is a science. It's a very academic approach to a given subject called defense of Christian belief. When you're doing defense of Christian belief, what you want to do is be rational. Being rational, it means that you are trying to be as logical as possible. So basically, that is a very rational and logical statement. And another form very logical scientific statement that you can make simple as is A is B because C. So when you are trying to say what is, then you need to prove why that is so. Let's say someone said democracy is the best political ideology in the world or in the history. And if you say so, then you need to prove or support why that claim is true, or why that statement is true. Same thing applies to anything that you are going to claim meaning that you're saying something, and if you believe in that, then you need to provide evidences. That's what is called rationality. In the past, unfortunately, there are some believers or many believers, Christians, who are not so rational. Or there were certain period of time in the Christian history in the church where the rationality or the intellectual process of the analysis or process of belief was considered against God. So it was considered blasphemy, meaning against God, and even considered as sin. Nowadays it's not, but there were times in the history, Christian history, rationality or using your brain and intellectual was considered sin. And that is called dark days or dark ages, which is somewhere 6th, 7th, 8th century in Christian history. Nowadays, we don't believe that. We don't believe that anymore. Because you're in school, and if you're a Christian, and if you're here sitting, and we agree that the academic process or the scientific approach to a given subject is a good way to elaborate and examine and test and understand and learn about that particular subject. Same thing applies to our apologetics. It can go as far as philosophers or Socrates or even beyond that, but I'm just giving the example. Socrates or Socrates, some pronounce that way. He is one of the very logical, rationally minded person who had approached life in a very philosophical way. Philosophy is something is the imagination. No, it's not. The modern philosophy or the philosophy that started by Socrates is a very scientific, it's an intellectual and rational way to approach human existence and human life in a way so it is explained and presented in a very organized and systematic and logical way. So that's what the rationality is. He's a good example of a rational person. Okay? The second point there, Maslow. If you're not familiar with the Maslow, he's one of the guys that you will learn in any psychology. If you're studying psychology, he's the first one of the first one, other than Freud, that appears in your textbook. His idea of, he tried to analyze a human being, and then he said there are 5 different levels of human need, and that's how he tried to understand human being. So Maslow's theory on human needs is one of the good examples of how we approach a human existence with a rational and logical and scientific way. Sigmund Freud. Even if you're not a student of theology, psychology, you'll know this name. He is nicknamed No. You're not signing after 10 minutes. He's called the father of modern psychology. And he's the one who tried to approach psychology in a very scientific, academic way. And so these are some of the examples how the rationality or the very organized, systematic exercise of your mind has been applied. Now, going into more specifics, number one, belief as an interpretation of the reality. Okay, this is a very, what I call the spirituality formula and or existence formula. Let me write that down. I wish I could have written it in a Chinese character, but reality in Korean, I mean Chinese Korean, we adopt many Chinese words and characters in Korean language, and we probably sound similar. We pronounce 현실, and then existence is a 실존, existing. So two character words, 현실, reality, and then 실존, that's how we exist. And this will apply in understanding your life. If you're a person, and if you want to or need a system to understand what and how the life is, please. This reality is the world that you are in. This is what you see and what you experience every day. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be harshy. No, everyone has a different reality, but we are in it. Whether you like it or not, we are in the reality that we exist. Then something has to be there. And with this, the blank, then your existence is determined or decided. So everyone has a different reality and different this, which will result quite different existence. Your life and my life and the life who's sitting beside you, all different. It is because not only the reality may be different, but this will be different. When we are talking about the reality, there are two realities that we are into. Common and universal reality. We breathe the air. We have the sky, the same. We are on earth, and we live in a house. We wear clothes. And in America, most of us drive. So that's like a common reality. Everyone shares. Or the shared reality. On the contrary, each individual An individual or a particular society and the culture may have what we call particular or specific reality that you are in. So these two realities exist. And like it says, going back, the word that you want to understand is interpretation. Every single of us who are a thinking, normal human being, unless you're strongly mentally challenged or have an issue with your mental stability, on those cases it might be difficult. But those who are normal people, whether they are young babies or older men, it doesn't matter. We are to interpret the reality, and that's how you respond to the given reality. Sometimes you try to change the reality, but usually it doesn't happen. So reality is what most reality is given. But some of the reality that you are in is caused by your own decision or own action or own word or own response or relationship with others. So in that sense, not only reality is given, the reality that we are in can be made or it can be altered, meaning changed. Whatever the situation, the reality is, the key is interpretation of that reality. So, single one of us are keep continuing every moment interpreting what is given to us. So when you say, I had a bad morning, I had a very bad morning today. Let's give an example. And then, what is a bad morning? That's your own interpretation. So when we greet one another, say good morning, we are hoping and expecting that the day that we are in will be good and better. Now the question, what is a good morning? What is a better morning? So everyone will have a different idea about bad morning, good morning, or better morning, which is the same morning that we are in today, same hour, same place that we are in, yet it causes very different interpretation. So going here, according to this existence formula or spirituality formula, people, us, are unknowingly, usually it's an unconscious level, as you are not so aware of it, but you are continuing doing so, and you are, as you grow up from a baby to a child, to a youth, and then young adult, and then the middle age, and then become elder, and so on. You continue to grow, and your paradigm, I mean the structure of interpretation here, interpretation may change from young to old, or it may stay forever the same. Let me give an example of interpretation that is ran by shared belief or shared reality. I'm not trying to offend any the students who are Muslim in this class, but this is just an example. What we today we have what we call Islamic State, meaning that the government and the whole nation and state believe in one particular religion or belief, which is a shared belief by whole community called nation. And you are to interpret the reality with that given interpretation. So reality is given, and then you have this theology or ideology to interpret the reality in a way that is given by the government or the church or the mosque or Islamic law, whatever that is. You are forced to interpret that reality, which happened in Christianity as well. In the past, it still goes on in some churches, but in the past, for example, Catholic Church had, the Pope was above all the kings of the Europe, right? The Catholic Europe. And he is the one who made that final, ultimate decision on all the politics and cultures and society. In that time, the Catholic theology and doctrine and the law and the instructions and teachings were controlling over whole Europe through the Pope and then cardinals and as well. So the religion was above the politics. In that case, interpretation was forced, and then you are to interpret the same way as others. Some of the countries that ran by a very solid ideology, other than Islamic state, there are still the countries and nations who impose the given interpretation to their people. You are only to interpret in this way, and you're not supposed to have your own individual interpretation. So that's how we kind of analyze a certain belief. And if a church, if you're a Christian, if a church forces this interpretation to you, and that church has some issues, because you are choosing to accept and make your own personal decision how to interpret the given theology and teachings. So that's what we call freedom. It's not the freedom of your physical body, that's important. But more important is freedom of thought and thinking, and then interpretation of reality. If you are not allowed to interpret the reality with your own learning and your own experience and your own theology and ideology, then that society and culture is not free. So doing this apologetics all Christians with a good, healthy apologetics need to maintain that every single person that you encounter, whether she is an antichrist or one of the members of this cult or heresy, it doesn't matter. You are to respect the right to interpret the reality in his or her own idea and ideology, theology, philosophy, whatever he or she believes in. You respect that. That's where we begin our conversation and communication and dialogue. Many times some Christians think that he or she is better than the person that he or she is speaking to. That's not the case. We are the same person. Only difference is Christians, we knew and we believe in Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior. That does not make you a better person or in a higher position. So you're doing this communication, that's a horizontal communication, and one person to another person regarding how you interpret your reality. So we are trying to say, this is how I interpret the reality, and then he or she will tell you how he or she interprets their own reality. And continuing with that subject, because of that, you need to understand the word paradigm. Paradigm is a very underlying, hidden structure of your thinking, your thought, your belief, and so on. So if you're not familiar with the word paradigm, please look up in your own language, whether it's a Vietnamese, Chinese, Portuguese. Just look into it. Portuguese is probably the same word there, right? So paradigm is a very, if you're doing any academic work in the college level and up, then you need to have this vocabulary and understand full definition of the paradigm. Paradigm is a very given, hidden, underlying structure of how you analyze the reality. And the worldview, pretty similar. Worldview, as the word says, how you view, perceive the world. I'll give you a more detailed definition example later on. But Christianity is not a religion, like I said before. It is a worldview, how you view your world and your life. Islamic faith, if you're a Muslim, it's a worldview as well. It's not just a religion. That's how you view your life and your world, and how you interpret what goes on in this world. And so these paradigms, worldview, are the very fundamental, basic of your belief system. So same thing. When you say you're a Christian, you should be able to explain, this is my Christian paradigm. This is my Christian worldview. Or this is my biblical worldview. This is my biblical paradigm. That's how I or you as a Christian should be able to explain that very knowledge. Okay, let's take a 10 minutes break, and please, for the Vietnamese speaking students, she's gonna.
Thầy muốn thông báo chút xíu với các bạn sinh viên học viên Việt Nam.
No.
Ở trong cái tờ điểm danh này nè, mình chỉ được ký nếu mà mình vào sớm á, mình được ký cái phía trên, thì mình cuối giờ mình đi về mình ký cái phía dưới, chứ không phải là ký cùng lúc hai cái. Yeah. Nếu mà thầy phát hiện là sẽ có cái biện pháp nha, cho nên lần sau mình ký 100 2 cái, còn nếu mà mình vô trễ thì mình chỉ được ký một cái thôi.
Okay,
Yeah.
also tell them, I mean, if you're in America, the America considered honesty the most important virtue, the value.
Thầy muốn dặn là nếu mà mọi người đã ở Mỹ rồi á thì cái phẩm chất của mình rất là quan trọng, nhất là trong cái việc trung thực.
Thank you.
Cảm ơn mẹ.
For the Chinese speaking students? Oh, sorry. Can you tell them not to sign in I mean, you have to sign out when you are out.
OK，来看 this。然后讲中文的同学们注意了啊，我们这个签到的规则是这样子的，每天早晨进来的时候签进来的这里 in， 然后在出去的时候才能签 out， 不能在进的时候签2次，那是不允许的。而且老师今天早上只给了10分钟的一个时间，就是在10分钟之内你都可以签。出去的时候也是的，就是走得太早了你不能签，一定要等到下课前才能签。
Thank you. So I'm giving you like a 10 minutes in the morning. That's probably more than enough. And please come on time and go out on time. It's only 2 hours class. And even if, I know some of you may not understand the language English enough to focus on, but it is important for you to sit down here and listen to the words again and again. That's going to help you to learn English. If you're here, I mean, I strongly suggest to try to learn English language as much as possible. Okay, so much for that. Continuing with the topic. Yeah, value system. Christian belief, or especially Christianity, Islamic faith, are probably the two strong so-called religion, but it's modern religion. Actually, it's a worldview. You're learning how to interpret the world, and that is also excuse me. Thank you. A value system. What value system is? You, us, any human being, make a decision daily, every day. Whether it's your relationship with others, or the coming to school, or driving. Even when you're driving, you continue to make this value decision. Value decision is like this: which is better for me, which is not good for me. That's usually how it happens. But in Christianity, we are trying to learn which is better for others, which is good and best for others. That's how you should make a value judgment as a Christian. So that's kind of different, but value judgment is a value judgment. You think which is bad, which is good, which is evil, which is good, which is right, which is wrong, and so on. So these are continuing value decisions that you're making, and it is organized and systematic. Probably you are not aware of that, but it is. So another word for the paradigm and worldview value system would be belief system, because a value is a kind of belief. So belief would be bigger, larger than value, and in the belief system, value is one of them. One of them. So value system is within the belief system. So belief system would be a little bigger, but it is also probably same as worldview and paradigm. Wishful thinking. That is totally different from a belief system, but people have something that is called ideal. Ideal is what you think is better or best. And people by nature wants to have something that is better than now. More expensive than what I have. Because usually when something is more expensive, it has a better quality. That's one of the examples of ideal. People want to marry an ideal person that he or she kept dreaming. So ideal, dream, something that you wish and hope, that's what we call wishful thinking or ideal. It's a part of how you perceive reality. Because the reality that the actual situation that you are in is not so ideal. Meaning it has problems, issues, difficulties, challenges, obstacles, and sorrows, sickness, and weakness, all these things, which come down to what we call death. Death would be the worst thing that can happen to a human existence, because your existence here, where is it? Yeah, your existence is going to be terminated. No longer you're existing on earth. So death being the worst reality that you and I can face, you wish to live forever. That's why Jinshi of the Emperor Jinshi of China looked for this very medication that will guarantee him to live forever, which did not happen. And the religion, on the other hand, tried to find something that helps you or guarantee you to go beyond this existence. So all the religion will say there's another existence after this one, even though you die. So the reality of death will be overcome by a certain theology, certain promise, certain things that you do or you do not do. That's a part of religion. And it reflects your wishful thinking or the ideal. So every person, if you're a human being, we have what you call or what we call ideal. And that's how human beings perceive the reality that is given. And again, the death would be the worst reality that you need to or wanted to overcome. And that's where religion comes in. That means every good religion deals with the issue of death. And then another existence that comes and follows after death. And the most cultures and the most human beings, even if someone does not tell you, have kind of a conscious level of understanding about the heaven and hell. you not necessarily you need to use that particular word, heaven and hell, but bad place after this existence or good place after this existence. So next existence after this one, when you're dead, it may be good or it may be bad. That's how most human beings, regardless of ethnicity, nationality, or the culture, or age even, they have this very rough idea, but certainly idea about the good place that comes after this one or bad one. That's why some people, especially the natural science or atheists, try to deny any existence beyond this one. They tell you, this is it. Once you're dead, everything is terminated. There's nothing anymore after this one. When that is the case, probably you can act as you wish. And you don't really care for others. As long as you don't kill anyone, you think it's okay to, do the things to have what you want. So, and that's what the atheist or the so-called natural scientist, or most of natural scientists, not all of them are atheists, but those who are believing in science, natural science would say. They say there's nothing like a spirit or spiritual, and it's this earth, and once the life is done here, it is done. That's not how Christians believe, or most, probably 90% of the population on earth will have this idea. It's going to be something after this one. The only thing is that I haven't been there. I do not have the knowledge, but they suspect that there is going to be something after this one. So the interpretation on the reality of death would be different from A person to B person. Now, belief. Let's talk about the belief, worldview, paradigm, all these things, or value system, belief system. Because we are, in apologetics, we are dealing with this very systematic way of belief on God and Jesus Christ. So first, you need to understand what the belief is. In Chinese, I should have written some Chinese here. 신념. 신념 is the believing and the mind. Two words come together. Yeah, that's probably what it is. And then 신앙. 신앙 is the same word. Okay, so that's kind of belief that we are talking about, and how it comes to a person, and it says how the belief is being formulated. It may be given, but yet people do not just receive and perceive everything that is given. That's a human nature. So first, belief is innate, meaning you are born with. When you're born, you already have your belief. And as young as a 6-month-old, they do have a certain belief in the reality. I mean, that's how even the science tells you that you not only develop the mental ability, but with the mental ability comes the belief. The first thing they believe, any human being, a baby, they learn to trust their own mother. That's the first thing. They don't learn to trust their father. That's not how it works. Mother. That's like an animal instinct, but for human being, it's a belief. So they believe in his or her mother. That's the very first innate belief. It comes naturally. It's as much as an instinct, because it's a matter of survival. So the belief, it also has to do with your physical survival, and not only the spiritual, but it comes along with the issue of survival. You have to believe in certain things to survive as a human being, as a life, and so it comes as you're born into this world. As soon as you're born into this world, there's a given innate belief. But most belief that we have is uncultured, meaning your culture tells you what to believe, even though you are not aware of it, that you're learning this belief, but you are continued with all the ideas and the theology and ideology and philosophy and ethics and morals that you need to believe in. So if you are born into certain culture, it's not your choice. The reality is given when you're born as a Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, Portuguese, or Brazilian, and whatever your nationality is, that's culture that you're in. So in that culture, you're normally, naturally, and without choice, you are learning that culture. As you learn the language, as you're living in a family, and relate with the relatives and friends, and so on, the society teaches you what to think and how to think. Not only the think, they tell you what to believe and how to believe, and so on. So the belief and the culture is very connected. Not only connected as the culture is a belief and belief is culture. I can safely say that. So uncultured means the culture teaches you the belief, whether you like it or not. It's not going to be your decision, but it's going to be given. So it is important where you're born into. So it is natural for those who are born into Christian family are more likely to become a Christian. But if you look at the data, I should say 20 to 30%, only 20 to 30% of the children of, let's say both parents are Christian, only that much, 20 to 30% becomes a true, real Christian. So that data tells you it's not like so much natural, or the culture may affect their upbringing and the building of this belief system, but in reality, as they grow up, especially when they are like in America, my experience tells when they are 7th and 8th grade, that's where their belief system kind of shifts. That's most challenging, at least in America, and that's very critical time and age when they are making that decision about regarding the culture that they know of, and so that's why that period of time is important for any human being who's growing up. Then another way is reinforced. What you learned in the culture is repeated, and it's strongly suggested again and again and time over and over. So in that way, when you hear something many, many times, it's repeated, then you naturally, unconsciously accept, receive that idea, that belief. That is called, if it's done with the intention, it's called brainwash. Brainwash. So many, those who are in a very, I would say, solid and strong government and state, where they impose certain ideology or theology or belief, then they will be reinforced by someone who has intention to brainwash your idea. So reinforcement is one of the ways to formulate belief system. Eventually, it becomes your own belief. Or you think you have, you believe in that. So that's another way of having to formulate a belief. Foster. Fostering is a less of, it's not strong as reinforcement, but fostering is your mother and father, parents, as they raise you, they are fostering certain idea and belief. So that's like the parent to children kind of thing, and it's different from the political ideological reinforcement. So that's fostered. Your belief is fostered by your own parents. Learned. Of course, learning is one of the probably the major ways in modern society how this belief is engaged and delivered and transferred or transformed. So what we do in a church, when someone who is not a believer comes into the church, basically what we do is education, learning. We teach, like I teach you, but you don't necessarily need to accept what I teach you. So learning, compared to reinforcement or brainwashing, you have a choice either to accept or you don't. But most likely, when you're position of a student to the teacher, you learn, you do accept most of the things that I teach you. So the teaching and the learning is one of the major process for any belief system, especially when you're in church or in a mosque or in a temple. What they do, the ministers, they teach you what to believe and how to believe. And you are to make your own decision whether to accept that teaching or you reject it. So you have, at least you have a freedom of choice to the learning process. But fostering, if your parents tell you and they try to give you a certain belief, and it's most likely you don't have that freedom to reject until that you grow up. So that's kind of difference, fostering and learning. Peer pressure in 21st century. This is probably the most influential means or the channel of formulating one's belief. So this is critical for us today. Peer means the friends who are sharing, probably the age are the same. And like I said, 7th, 8th grader, if you have children, just watch them in their 7th and 8th grade. These kids in junior high, they communicate a lot. They start to, disconnect from the parents. So there's visibly less communication with the parents, and they begin to communicate with the friends at the same age. That's peer. And this peer, it creates very strong, solid bond with each other. Especially this age, they have something called SNS. And then there's a group talk, whether it's a TikTok or whatever they use. There's this secret kind of grouping which we didn't have when we are growing up. And that kind of reinforces, it strengthens that peer connection. So today, if you try to understand your children, 7th, 8th graders and even younger, you should be able to look into their SNS. And I know in America, as sometimes it's against the law to force and looking into, it's a privacy thingy. And but yet, if your children agrees, you need to share that SNS with them as much as possible. That's how you can help them to, go the right direction. Anyway, so the peer pressure is probably the most solid, strongest influence in their belief for the 21st century MZ generation and down. So again, they want to believe what their friends believe. So that's sometimes pretty scary, because it depends on what kind of friends they have. Continuing, how one chooses to perceive his or her reality. So I told you this reality that we are in, it is given basically, but it can be made, it can be altered. This is where it happens. How someone alter or perceive the reality, here is number one, again, instinct. There's a human instinct, natural and egocentric and greed. That's how Sigmund Freud, the psychologist, perceived human perception. Humans basically are very egocentric, meaning selfish and self-centered. Yeah. So we are, we cannot deny it. Whether you're a very religious person or not, still, there is that ego, that kind of, make that decision and action and the speech according to his or her own good. So we basically want to serve the self. So that's in the Bible, it is called greed. And it's a natural instinct, but God says that's not how I made you. And yet, you accept the belief that is good for you, that you think that is good for you. So a very selfish decision is made regarding having the belief system. That is very dangerous. It's scary for Christians, because many Christians, when they become a believer, their first intention is to save himself or herself, to go to heaven. That's basically the motivation for us Christians who became a Christian. I mean, I can deny it. Probably all of us who became Christian when we accept Jesus Christ, the reason is I don't want to go to hell and suffer, so I choose. I mean, if there's a way to be in heaven, better place, I'm going to do that. So that was a very egocentric and selfish reason. But Bible does not call that greed. But Bible does tell you, if you read the teachings of St. Paul, Apostle Paul, he does mention that. Second, as you grow up and mature, if you have this, your own, when there's an age that you begin to have your own kind of idea, which kind of goes as young as probably 4 years old or 3 years old, and then they do make of this value judgment, systematic value judgment. And what we do as a human being is we decide which is good, which is not good. And then in the conscience, it tells you which is good, which is evil. Not just bad. You know by nature, by instinct, which is evil. And sometimes, even though the conscience says no, human being, because of that simple nature, we decide to do something that I know as evil. Evil is, evil has many different definitions, but here I would say evil is something that will harm others, and instead of harming others, you're going to gain something that is helpful or beneficial for yourself. That's basically what the evil is, and biblically speaking. So evil is you have to harm someone, or you know that you're going to take away benefits, or that the person character of someone. You're going to hurt or damage someone. Yet you do that because you're going to gain something out of that decision. So that's kind of value judgment. And as you do it, you are automatically building and creating a belief system of your own. So that's how the belief is decided and formulated and made. So you perceive the reality, and then you make that decision according to your value, and it becomes your belief system. So that's how it happens. So if you're Christian, look into your own process of believing or your own spirituality. And if that is the case, that's something that we need to change. And so that's how we grow and mature as a believer. And every situation, there come, not all the situation, but there are many situations. If you decide A, then you're going to hurt or harm or damage or disbenefit someone. And then you do not do that. That's how Jesus Christ taught us. Number 3, how one chooses to receive one's reality: by reasoning or manipulating. So reasoning comes within. You process your own reason, whether this is good or bad, evil or good, better or best, worse or worse, that's right or wrong. That's a process that happens in your brain and your heart. That's a reasoning. So reasoning not only happens up there, but it also includes the decision in your heart. Because reasoning always is associated with motive. Motive is a reason. So that's why it's called a reason. So you have a certain reason for doing something, and you're kind of arguing and saying, okay, should I do it or should I not? So that's sort of a process reasoning. Okay? You're saying this is right because A and B. This is good for me and others because so and so. This would be bad for me because so. That's sort of reasoning. That's a natural process for any human being. And as you reason, you're going to make a final decision. Okay, because of that, I'm going to do this. So you're acting, or you're speaking, or you're doing something as a result of reasoning. So any action that you're taking, whether you're driving, you're eating, all these things that we do while we are awake, it all has to do with the reason. Even in your dreams, you sleep, you do reason. That's why we dream, right? And manipulation. There are two ways of manipulation. Number one, manipulation from others. Someone is trying to make you certain decision, and they try their best to convince you, persuade you, so you can make a decision in the way that he or she wants to. Usually the parents manipulate their children. You don't use the word manipulate, but at the end, many times you as a father and mother will manipulate your children. So someone influencing your decision in a way that he or she wants you to make that particular decision. So leading, and they say, I'm helping you, but at the end, they want you to make a decision in a way that he or she wants to. And when that happens, there's a manipulation from outside. But there is a manipulation from within. Because when your conscience tells you not to make that particular decision, and there's another you telling you, and it's okay. I said just this once, and it's not going to harm anyone. And then it says, don't you want it? Really want it? And that kind of sound in your own mind is called self-manipulation. So it's related with the self-justification. So self-manipulation is also connected with the self-justification, saying, this is okay. Yeah, I have to do this because, and then you give certain reasons. And many of us are very good at doing the self-manipulation and self-justification. When that happens to Christians, that's dangerous. Actually, it is sin. So even you can rationalize the things that you've done wrong, and you know that it is wrong, and even after many manipulation, self-manipulation and self-justification, still you have what we call guilt. So if you have that guilt, whether it's a small or big, you know that you have just did what we call rationalize or self-justify. And we don't want that to happen. So that's how someone perceives reality. Continuing, another way, sense of belonging or peer pressure again. People have this very strong need to belong to others. It's built in, it's natural, it's instinct. And if you, the moment that you realize that you don't belong to anything or anyone, including your own family, that's where the depression begins. So most of the depression that we experience today comes out of isolation. So when you are lacking the sense of belonging, that's a very dangerous situation. So for us Christians and believers, you have to kind of make a decision between, do I want to belong to human culture and society and relationship, or do I belong to God? And I mean, are you going to be satisfied with the belonging to God? Once that you make that decision, then probably you are immune to depression. So many Christians who are experiencing depression first begin to look at, is his or her priority, or the priority of relationship is with God? That was the key question that you ask as a counselor or teacher or pastor. You want to look into that. So the depression kind of begins from lacking the sense of belonging, and if you strongly, solidly, certainly have that sense of belonging to God, then you wouldn't be endangered into depression. But those who are lacking, then there's a very difficult situation, because this sense of belonging will be very fundamental and foundation for your the stability of your belief system. Next, place of doubt and self-awareness. Doubt is probably the best medicine or the tool for your apologetics. You're speaking of apologetics. If you're to defend your own faith, if you haven't gone through the doubting of your own belief, then once you're challenged of that belief, then you will be shaken. For example, every Christian should go through this doubt. Is there really God? The very existence of God. You have to question that. Without, having the question of the existence of God, then you're probably not going to be able to have a good apologetics. Oops. Next. Organized religion versus personal belief. As a believer, whether you're a Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, or you believe in certain ideology, like a capitalist, that would be also considered a belief. And socialism or communism, whatever the belief that you believe in, there's an organized form of that belief system, and then your personal one. Most likely, I can say 100%, your personal belief may not be the same as whole organized the institution, as in this case religion, tells you. So there's the gap between what you believe and what you're told to believe. So there's that tension. Usually, sometimes it appears in the form of doubt, but many times it appears in the form of that conflict, inner tension that you experience. Go around like this and come back over here. Okay. Shh. It's not over yet. Just do it silently. Next, distortion, brainwashing, manipulation. I already told you that. This is actual presentation of how people, us, cultures perceive the reality. So this is where the foundation of apologetics actually begins. So when you are interpreting the reality. So this is a kind of interpretation, the way of interpreting the reality. First, this is a universal, common, shared in all culture. The definition of the word may be different, but every culture that we live in and every religion that we have, as far as I know, there's two different things of the. Please, shh. The class is not over yet. Students, please. Either we see the world that is good or evil. Some people think the world is good. Some people think the world is evil. But we know that commonly the world has both good and evil in it. So that's one of the ways to divide or to perceive the reality with a value. So when you say world is good or the world that we live in is evil, as soon as you say that, we are imposing your own interpretation. And this interpretation is very common. That's the universal. Every culture has this perception of good and evil. We'll go into the biblical definition of good and evil later on, but that's the good and evil is one of the standard, the main thing, how we perceive the reality. Another way of dividing the reality is ours and theirs. So we are very eager to divide the people into two groups: my people and their people. Even though they are not enemies, still we do divide ours and then theirs. And when it becomes more serious, as enemies against us. So that's one of the common ways to divide the world. Okay, we'll continue this next week, and thank you for coming and listening, and please make sure that you sign out. And again, Do not sign out before you come when you're coming in. Okay. Okay. Have a great day. See you next week.